What's going on, guys? Today we are finally back working on the daily cruiser yet again. As I explained in the last video, once we finally got the PT-GT to pass inspection, I decided to kind of use that as my daily for the time being. I have an appointment to get this car New York State inspected next week. For the time being, though, it is overdue. So I figured I might as well take full advantage, keep driving that car while the weather stays good, and get some stuff done on this thing that has needed to get done for quite a while, including fixing our heater blender door, which is the main thing we're going to be tackling today. I don't know if we're going to be doing anything else, but that's the first thing that I'm hopefully going to be tearing into. So a lot of you guys have asked me what the exact problem is with the heater blend door. What's happening is occasionally it will get stuck and I will not be able to switch from like defrost to the face to the feet to, you know, whatever. And that's what it's doing right now, actually, is it's stuck. And I might be able to wiggle it to get it to work, but back in here behind the glove compartment is where the cable runs for that, and it runs to a little contraption of plastic arms that it controls and that it turns to open and close the different things. And you guys will see that in just a second, but a lot of you guys are saying, oh, it's probably the cable being frayed, and a lot of times the cables on these go bad. It's not actually the cable, because we replaced the cable a long time ago and that didn't take care of the issue. It's actually the mechanism itself getting stuck, something within the blend door getting stuck. So I'm hoping I can take that apart, maybe figure out why it's getting stuck and fix it, or simply try to get a new one. And it's going to require a lot. We're probably going to be tearing this all apart. So yeah, we're gonna learn together. So first things first, this glove box literally will just pop out if you give it a little pull to the side, and that gives us access at the side of the blend door and the arms and everything up in here. You guys can hopefully see here, this is like the cable. This is what we're pulling and pushing on when we turn the knob up on the front of the dash. There's this little arm here, and it's turning that arm there, and that arm in turn will also turn another arm down below that will change. I believe it operates the feet door, and then this arm operates the door that controls these and the defroster up top, and that's what's getting stuck. And I had a little thing rigged up here. You can probably see there's a little zip tie. I had a little spring and a zip tie rigged up that kind of put a little extra tension on it, so that usually even when it did get stuck, it would simply still pop past with a little wiggle. But it seems to be getting worse, and now it's been enough that the spring has actually popped off, so it's not really doing anything anymore. There's nothing worse than going to change your heat around and finding out that it'll only come out your defrost when you're driving down the road. It's very cold. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and remove this whole dash piece here. On the second gen cars, it literally just pops off all as one piece, just like that. We pull this out, and then all we have to do is unplug our clock. A small connector up at the top, and then a small connector for the window switches. Just gotta pull the little tab out and give that a push, and then those are loose. But to completely remove it, we have to remove our cable as well, and also this little plug for the other switches down below, which is really easy. That just pops out like so. Our cables are a little bit more of a challenge. You can see now that it's partway popped out. Basically, there's the little locking mechanism in here, pushed in on it right here, and then it pulled up and out it comes. There we go. Oh God, I almost dropped it. Gonna do the same thing here on our other cable. Just gonna push in here on the little locking mechanism. There it comes. Oh, there's one more connector here. What is that for? Oh, that's for the fan speed, of course. Should be able to pinch, and yep, there it goes. Oh, and there's one more connector. What is that connector for? We got connectors galore up in here. This is a real simple, just a little pinch and pull one though. There we go. All right, finally, we got that out of the way. That was a little bit more of a challenge than I thought, but forgot about the cables that we had to undo. So now the blend door that we are trying to get at, this big black plastic piece. Oh boy, that's gonna be real fun. Not really sure how this is all gonna come apart. I'm assuming we're gonna have to remove our radio, get that out of the way, and then remove some more pieces up in here. Whoops. And that one is a Phillips head. Okay, well, that was random. There's a couple connectors for the radio, two here on the back, and then there's the antenna one, which I always seem to struggle with, and I can never remember how exactly it plugs in. Ow. There it goes. There's our head unit out of the way. The antenna, the plastic piece, is actually a part of the antenna wire and not a part of the head unit. Something worth noting so that you don't accidentally tear that apart. There's two screws right here that I'm going to go ahead and remove. One there and one there. I don't see any others up in here. I know on the first generation cruisers, the dash is held on by like one screw that goes through here, and then you can go ahead and start prying up on the dash, but I don't see anything like that here. Maybe we can just start prying the dash up. Maybe it has no screws in it. God. Well, at least that came out like it was supposed to. So I just had a big brain moment. I suddenly remembered that with the first gen cruisers, the dashboard slides out once you remove that top screw, but you have to remove these little side pillar panels. This one has like dirt and crap in it for some reason. Ew, disgusting. But you remove them and then you're able to pull forward on the dashboard by grabbing on like over here, like on the VIN hole and stuff. So I'm gonna kind of wiggle it around a little and see if it starts to come loose at all. Got it, babe. It's looking like a whole surfboard. Pretty cool just seeing your dashboard outside of the car. And I'm going to be cleaning all of this before any of it gets put back together because it's actually really nasty up in here. But we got that out of the way, which is a huge bit of progress. We have to continue tearing all this apart though. Before I do, I am going to disconnect the battery and leave it disconnected for a while, which is something I probably should have done before I even started this project because you never know. Where there's airbags, electronics, and all kinds of stuff that we don't want to have an issue all up in here. And it's just smart to unplug the battery. So I'm gonna do that, and then I guess we will continue in a minute.
The next day.
All right, I went ahead and gave the car plenty of time to discharge after unplugging the battery. If you couldn't tell, it's magically daylight now. It's actually a new day. I got a little carried away with taking some other stuff apart and got distracted. It just got really cold and really dark and my heater was not working for some reason and it's still not working. I gotta get that fixed today as well, but also my battery's about to die, so I'm gonna need to exchange that. But I messed up a little bit over here while I was waiting for everything to discharge before I started touching the airbag. I started taking this apart over here on this side of the dash. What I was actually supposed to do is take this top panel off first. Well, never mind, that battery was toast. So basically, this panel up here needs to come off first before anything else. There's these clips here that hold it in, and then there's these clips that hold it. You see there's like these prongs here that it clips into. It's really hard to get off, and it's just such a weird way of engineering this. Regardless, we got it off, and I did it actually the opposite of how I was supposed to, which ended with me breaking one of the panels a little bit. I thought this panel was going to come off first, and then this one was going to come off, but it was essentially the opposite. I had to reach in there and pull on these tabs and fiddle with this stupid piece, get it off first, because it turns out that there were two screws that hold this panel in. I believe one here, and I can't remember if this one held it in or there was another one somewhere, I don't remember, but there's basically two screws on the right there that held this panel in, you can see, and one of them I completely destroyed the mount, and I actually cracked the panel here. Hopefully you can focus. There we go. You can see right there's a good little crack right down the side because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even pull on it that hard. You know, I was being careful and it just went pop and cracked. And then I suddenly realized that, oh, I need to take the other one off first. So I went ahead and got that over with off camera, and we're gonna go have to epoxy that panel a little bit, use something to fix that crack, but oops. That's why you gotta be careful, especially with cheaper plastic interiors like these cars have. These were cheap cars ever since day one, and you know, I don't expect any miracles from them. Especially the second generation interiors are known for just not being quite the quality that the first generation was. They could cost a little bit on the interior, I guess, but I still love the interiors in this car as far as just everyday stuff is concerned. They're not bad at all, but I'm starting to understand more and more now why people prefer the first gen more. But once those are out of the way, there's two screws that hold this little bezel in place down below here. There's one here, and then there was one, actually, was there another one? No. Wait, I can't remember. No, there wasn't another one. There was the only one that went through the bezel. Once that's out of the way, this bezel will just literally pop forward and come right out of the way. There's our whole gauge cluster, and we're probably gonna have to remove that as well. I hope not, but before I get too carried away over here though, I'm gonna go ahead and remove our passenger airbag and see what we got going for us over there. First thing I'm gonna do here is remove this bar. This is the, I don't know what you call this, the handlebar. I think a lot of people like to call it the oh bar, which makes sense. These plastic covers come off, they pull toward you. Whoops. Well, that one broke a little bit. Look how long those are, that's cool. Alright, off comes the oh bar. There we go. Now we have a bunch of these smaller Torxes to pull out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think, yeah, okay, there's two bolts up under the dash here that actually hold the airbag itself in that are gonna need to come out as well. There's the one bolt up top, and then up here are the two nuts right here and right here that are gonna need to come out. By the way, guys, it turns out that this panel does just simply pop off. I did a little bit more Googling about taking this apart, and I found some good articles, and a few people posted a few videos. Weren't the best videos, but you could kind of get an idea, and I noticed that that does pop off, and with that popped off, we should be able to completely remove our airbag now. Oh, there's one screw I left in. There we go. Woo! Alright, so I went ahead and removed our bottom panel here, and I pulled our gauges out real quick. All it was 4 of those little Torx screws, and then I unplugged all of our wires. This bottom panel, I removed this little metal plate that was here. This little thing, it was just like 4 screws, I think, that held it in as well. That came right out, and then I was able to remove this little bottom rubber piece. And now I know why this is way more complicated on the 2nd gen compared to the 1st gen. That's because they added an airbag down here in the lower section of the steering column, which is really weird, but you know, it's a little bit newer. Safety regulations were changing and all that fun stuff. Ooh, careful. Finally, out comes that. It is disgusting too. There's just like, ew, I don't even know. There's hair and nastiness and all kinds of crap all over everything that I'm taking apart up in here. This car is gross. With that, as well as this little side panel out of the way, it actually exposed a few more screws. There's one down in here. There's like 4 behind where the airbag was, and a bunch of crap like that needs to come out of the way. Also, there's 2 screws in this that I think are gonna have to come out, maybe. I don't actually know. They don't have to come out because they don't go into anything. The main thing is we need to separate the plastic from the metal, and once it's completely separated from the metal, we should be able to, you know, pop it out. But essentially, I think we're going to be taking this whole entire plastic piece out to get to everything. I don't know if we're going to have to remove any steering column parts, but other than that, we are on the right track for sure. I feel like we're going to be removing the speakers up here and a few odds and ends like that. Maybe these ducts as well. I'm not sure. We're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, I think we might have to remove some of this console as well, which I kind of hope not, but this escalated really quickly. But I'm going to try to edit this down into a concise enough video for you guys to where it doesn't suck to watch. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Let's tear this thing apart and go try to snap through the rest of this. Alright boys, fast forward a little while later, I skipped over some of the boring stuff, which is basically me removing every single stupid little screw in the dash that I can reach so far. I removed the ones that hold these little vents in for the defrost. There's like 4 of them in each. There's one little one back in here behind it. It went right there. There are a couple over here that held into the metal right here by the main defrost unit. There were a bunch just all throughout here that I need to remove. So I got pretty much every single screw out. You know, there were a few scattered throughout here. There were a few scattered throughout that I hadn't got yet that were behind stuff like the airbag and, you know, all that. But with as many of them removed as I possibly can, you can see our dash is actually starting to come loose, which is huge. This whole thing is flexing, and basically what was holding it in was just 40,000 of those little T20 or T15 little Torx screws. Our next hurdle that we have to jump over though is there's actually a screw back in here going in this way into a metal bracket. You can kind of see it right there. It's on the left and it goes in sideways to get the plastic out. That screw is what's holding it right now, and there's one on each side. All I have for Torx bits in my shop are these things right here, these sockets. I'm using my little impact to get them all out, and on places on the dash where I couldn't use the impact, couldn't fit it, I used this little wrench, but there's no way that'll fit back in there. Even this socket by itself is too long to fit in there. So we'll see. I'm either gonna have to make a tool to fit in there, or I'm gonna have to go and buy like normal looking Allen keys that are Torx. But I believe there is maybe a screw or two down below that is holding it, and that we're gonna have to remove this console for, at least partly remove the console. To do that, there's a couple screws here, the cup holders. I got a lot of change in there too, but I went ahead and removed that little rubber thing that's normally there. Also down here in the glove box in the bottom, there's 4 screws, and I think that's it.
12 seconds later.
Oh boy, here she comes. Have to unplug our outlet here. Alright, out she comes. That's actually pretty cool. I did end up having to completely remove it. The window switch wasn't too bad. I got my pick in here. I actually stuck my pick in right by one of the switches and pulled out, and this popped right out. Unplugged our wires for that. I pulled the parking brake as tight as I could possibly pull it, and with that all the way up and with the seats back and everything, I was able to wiggle it up past the parking lever and out of the car and over there. Now there are 2 screws down underneath here that are gonna need to be removed, and as far as I can tell, that's it. Other than that, it's just going to be our 2 little top screws that we still have to figure out and pull the steering wheel, possibly. We'll see. Alright guys, I think we got our solution right here. I unfortunately couldn't find a set of like normal little Allen wrench style Torx wrenches. And actually I dropped some change here. Oh, there's another dime. Wow, money everywhere. I got these though, just because they're kind of handy to have around. They're the folding style, but I grabbed a set of these little Torx bits that will fit in like a nut driver. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a trick that I saw someone else use on YouTube. And that is put them in like a little wrench, even just like a little crescent wrench or something, and just barely squeeze them in there. It's gonna be a pain, but we'll be able to get the bolts out once and for all. And about 10 minutes later, we finally got that stupid screw out T20 bit, and I put it in the vice grips, and I was able to just barely reach them in here to crack it loose and start wrenching on it. It was still really tight, but it worked. Holding it still. I've had to unclip a few wiring bits from behind. Kind of got to figure it out as you go, but not a bad idea to label stuff as well. I think it's completely free at this point. There were a couple things that were like popped into our air vents here that just had to be kind of yeeted on a little bit. They popped out. Now the whole thing seems to want to come out, but we are going to have to pull the steering wheel out of here. It's our last step before we're finally done with part one of this. The plastic shroud on here comes off really easy. There's just 2 Phillips heads and 1 little Torx. You can see here's the plastic shroud here. This is the one that goes on the bottom. There's 1 Torx there in the middle, and then there's 2 Phillips heads up in here. With that out of the way, we have access to everything we're gonna remove for the steering wheel. I don't think it's gonna be too bad. Essentially what we're gonna be doing is unplugging this whole harness. You can see this is 1 harness that runs up here. We're gonna unplug, and I'm gonna mark every single plug for this. We're gonna get that all undone. Plugs that go into here, into the clock spring, into the turn signals, into, I don't know what this is. Once those are all unplugged, there's 4 bolts up in here. 1 bolt there, 1 bolt right there, a little bit deeper, 1 bolt there, and of course 1 there. There's just 4 in a rectangle there that hold the bracket for the steering wheel there. But before we remove them, we're gonna remove our little bolt here for the U-joint. And I'm gonna mark it too, just in case. But you can see it goes through here. There's a little C-pin on there to make sure that the bolt doesn't completely remove itself. And just in case, so we're gonna remove the C-pin and the bolt. Pull that out, and then we'll be good to go. Wiring harness removed and labeled. This cable actually came out pretty easily. The way it ended up coming out was push on this little black tab up top and press in on this, and it'll kind of slide out of the lock cylinder. I had some issues getting it out before, and just for the heck of it, I tried putting the key into like the run position, and then I tried to play with it, and then finally pulled out. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not. It might, but just if you have trouble removing this, you could try just moving the key to different positions and see what happens. But nevertheless, that came out. All our wires are out. I just went ahead and removed the bolt and the U-joint, so just got to remove the bracket. All right, out she comes. Whoa, that is so cool. I was very careful not to turn the steering wheel a complete rotation anyway, or lose track of the exact position that it was in. I probably should have marked it before I pulled it out, just in case something bad happened. And I'm going to mark it just to be safe. But I don't want to go too far or keep rotating it one way or the other, just in case, because it could mess up the clock spring in there. This is the weirdest feeling, seeing a car with no steering wheel in it. Anyways, now that that's out, we can go ahead and attempt to pull all of the plastic out and hopefully get it out at last. Alright, I found the last thing holding it in. There's 1 little Torx screw that holds the blend door and the whole heater assembly through the dash. It's really like dumb. It's free! Oh my god. We finally got the entire plastic piece out of the car. Holy crap, that was a job. That was a job. Just removing it. It was a job and a half. It has been a learning experience and a half as well. And I've already learned so much. And next time it'll probably take half the time because I'll know what I'm getting myself into. Now you guys can see all the room we've given ourselves. We're still not completely at our whole heater assembly, but basically how this whole heater thing works is it's just this really cheap, thin ducting that connects everything together. And you can see it's like loose here, the top part. Actually, the top part will lift off. Never mind. So actually, it will be easy to get at. It just sets together, and then when the dash goes in, it kind of holds it down, I guess. The heater core itself, I believe, is within here somewhere, and that we need to investigate as well to make sure that we're not having any issues with that. After simply pulling up on this all just comes apart. We have access finally at this blend door here, which is very stuck shut. I've been playing with the little lever here on the side trying to get it to open, and it does not want to open anymore. It is extremely stuck. You guys can see now the lever here on the side, and you can see the cable there, and when you pull on it, it pulls it back and forth, but there's a little groove here, and there's another lever here with a little knob on it. You can see that is what actually turns this blend door here up top, and it is extremely stuck. I cannot get it to move for anything. Oh my god. Actually, wait, I think it's moving. Okay, there it goes. Never mind. My god, what is wrong with you? I wish there was a way that I could see down in here, but I was hoping that would be wide open. I guess not.
Few moments later.
When I pull on this white cable here, take a look at what happens in there. That opens up, and now we can see our heater core down in there. And I'll be able to get my little scope camera in there and see if it's been leaking in there or not as well, which is huge. We'll be able to completely inspect it. Pretty freaking cool how this all works. I am like beyond fascinated right now. Now that we got this door freed up, the cable actually works as well. So I've just been like playing with the cables and pushing and pulling them back and forth and watching everything. And I'm a child over here just fascinated by it all. Alright boys, about to stick the scope camera down in there for the first time. We're going to take a look at everything down in there for the first time together, and we're either going to end this part one with good news or with not so good news. Simple enough. Oh boy. Well, I had a feeling.